In contrast to empiricists, of course, empiricists also claim that experience is the best what? Teacher. That experience is the best what? Teacher. Experience is the best teacher. Of course, there was one philosopher, late Bishop George Berkeley. He went to the extent of saying that to be is to be perceived. S-A-E, perceive. S-A-E what? Perceive. To be is to be what? Perceived. That he went to the extent saying that for anything to exist, the thing must be what? Perceived with our what? Senses. But then the question is, when that thing is not being perceived, does it cease to exist? I said, what he offered an answer. That even when no human eye is seeing that thing, that there is a supreme what? Supernatural what? Eye, an all-seeing eye, right? Of God that sees that thing. That is what keeps that thing in what? Existence. According to him, that's extremely afford. But for us, for me, what he has said is skewing air perceiving. To know is to what? Perceive. That for you to know anything, you must perceive what? That thing. Not that for you to know anything, for something to exist, you must perceive it. No. In contrast to empiricism, rationalism asserts that knowledge is derived from what? Reason. Rationalists believe that knowledge is a prior, meaning that it is obtained through thinking and reasoning, such as in mathematical calculations or logical truths. For instance, we say that 2 plus 2 is equal to what? 4. That P is equal to not what? P. So rationalists, their only interest is in establishing knowledge that is indubitable, knowledge that is self-evident. That's what they are looking for. And they say that knowledge is a priori, knowledge is self-evident, and to deny knowledge derived from reason is to engage in self-contradiction. For example, if you say that 2 plus 2 is not 4, are you not contradicting yourself? That's self-contradiction. But then, neither empiricism nor rationalism is entirely correct on its own. Instead, both of them contribute to human what? Knowledge. Both reason and knowledge contribute to human knowledge. Both of them are necessary for knowledge, but none of them is sufficient for knowledge. Another revelation is also considered another source of knowledge. He posits that knowledge can be acquired through divine intervention or inspiration from God, gods, spirits, and other supernatural entities. Proponents of revelation opine that knowledge can be obtained through vision, dream, trances, divination, prophetic utterances, which often form the basis of many world religions. For example, in the book of Samuel, the Lord appeared to Samuel in a dream, using him as a prophet to communicate his intentions to Eli and the people of Israel. 1 Samuel chapter 3, 1 to 23. Revelating knowledge can also be acquired through visions as seen in New Testament's Acts of Apostles, where Cornelius and Peter both received divine guidance through what? Visions. Acts chapter 10, 1 to 48. In another example, Saul consulted the spirits of Samuel, the prophet, through divination with from the witch of what? Endor. In 1 Samuel chapter 28, 4 to what? 25. Revelation as a source of knowledge faces significant challenges due to inherent difficulties, contradictions, inconsistencies, and ambiguities. Conflicting claims to reveal knowledge exist among different faiths and religions, such as Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and so on and so forth. Each asserting to be true, will be the true and authentic revelation from God. Determining the authenticity of these claims is quite challenging and problematic. Even within a single faith or religion, contradictions and inconsistencies still abound. The Bible itself not acknowledges the existence of numerous false prophets and their prophecies and revelations, as seen in encounters between Elijah and the prophets of Baal. 1 Kings chapter 18. Prophet Micah and the 400 prophets of Ahab. 1 Kings 22, 1 to 40. And of course, between Jeremiah and Hananiah, Jeremiah 28 to what? 27 to 28. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you what? Free. Theories of truth. If knowledge is possible, as we have established, and we have known the sources of, looked at the various sources of knowledge, then how do we know? And of course, we have also established that truth is central to what? Knowledge. Then how do we ascertain the true theories of what? Knowledge. Of course, in the Bible, John chapter 8, verse 32 says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you what? Free. In the position of knowledge, truth is essential. A belief or knowledge claim cannot be considered knowledge if it is not grounded on what? Truth. Hence, epistemology and philosophy in general strive to ascertain the truth or otherwise of every claim to knowledge. While there are numerous theories of truth, this discussion will focus on correspondence, coherence, and pragmatic theories of truth in addition to critical rationalism. The corresponding theory of truth asserts there is a one-to-one relation between a belief, idea, proposition, or theory and reality. That there is a one-to-one relation between the theory and what? Reality. It asserts that a correlation between belief and fact. It asserts a correlation between belief and what? Fact. In other words, you position that something is true if it correlates with a fact. Assert that which is the case. For example, the statement, today is Wednesday, the 24th of May, 2023. This statement is true if actually today is Wednesday, the 24th of May, 2022. Okay? Because that's a what? Fact. It's a report and a state of what? Affair. Or saying that if you say that Abia State University is not true. This statement is true if actually Abia State University is what? True. That's correspondence theory of truth. That's what it tells us. Then we also have the coherence theory of truth, which presents that truth is rooted in logical consistency or coherence between a belief and other well-established beliefs within a specific domain of inquiry. That's what coherence theory of truth says. And of course, for example, the rule of addition in mathematics or rule of multiplication in mathematics, they are, once you comply with them, they'll be accepted because they cohere, they agree, they're in line with well-established the mathematical theory of what? Truth. The mathematical theory. So because they agree with mathematical theory, that's why they are true. That's why they are accepted. If they contradict the rule of mathematics, they will not be what? Accepted. The same thing for the rule, various norms of rules in logical rules, right? For example, the rules of inference in logic are accepted because they are in line with the rules of logic as a domain of inquiry in general. Then there's also pragmatic theory of truth that asserts that the theory, the proposition of the statement is true if it works, can be acted upon, or is useful. Of course, it contains that the value or significance of a theory depends on its usefulness or utility. In other words, if a theory is not useful, if a theory does not work, therefore that theory is not what? True. That's what pragmatism says. Of course, we all know that this is true. If something works, that's okay. But then we have also seen cases where for example, in African traditions, in African thought, okay, African thought was very, very what? Pragmatic. And African knowledge system was very, very pragmatic. Of course, it was focused on using, on coming up with knowledge claims that we use in solving the daily problems of the people. Whether it was housing, food, and so on and so forth. All right? But it lacked theoretical foundation, sound theoretical foundation, because it was oral. So there was not much growth in that thought or that knowledge system. That's why today, a handful of white men could come from overseas to dislodge everything in Africa. Okay, political system, educational system, everything, because our systems have lacked firm theoretical what? Foundation. Well, that is why today people are still asking whether African philosophy is what? Philosophy. Because African philosophy, did not develop because of its oral nature. People are still asking whether African law is what? Law. Of course, that was one of the topics in another lecture delivered here some years ago by the present faculty of law. The lawness of African law. Alright? The lawness of African law. Of course, Africans had their laws, but it could not develop above the Ethiopic and oral nature, oral stage, because of lack of storage method, lack of written literacy. Then there is critical rationalism, which focuses on understanding the world through a rational and critical approach. It says criteria for distinguishing knowledge from pseudo knowledge. Critical rationalism sees theories as conjectures that can be confirmed and corroborated or falsified and refuted. Theories are nets cast to explain or catch the world. Those that actually reflect and explain the world are true, corroborated and confirmed, while those that do not are false, falsified and refuted. Pervading culture of belief. Pervading culture of belief. Hosea chapter 4 verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. My people are destroyed for what? Lack of knowledge. Of course, I'm not the one saying it. It's the Bible that said that. Philosophy, as we have noted, is a problem-solving discourse that assesses the challenges faced by human beings in their lives. The failure to comprehend these challenges can result in people becoming complacent and accepting their problems as a way of life, leading to what Wananya referred to as fractured society. A society that is situated in several ways, where I quote him now. People feel better and safer to sit on petrifaction than to call for the removal of the agents that cause the decay. Unquote. The idol of an age. The idol of an age. I use the word idol in this lecture in the context of Isaac Bacon. In the context of Francis Bacon. According to Bacon, an idol consists of false notions which mislead and prevent people from knowing the truth. An idol consists of false notions, falsehoods, misconceptions, distortions, appearances, that mythology that prevent people from having knowledge. Prevent people from knowing the reality, prevent people from knowing facts, and prevent people from being able to distinguish knowledge from pseudo knowledge. To grasp the concept of pervasive culture of belief, we must first understand the meaning of culture and belief. Culture is seen as the way of life of the people. It is equally seen as the way of life, especially the general custom beliefs of a particular group of people at a particular time. Belief comprises the opinions, views, faith, convictions, sentiments that influence our behavior in life. Of course, I've talked about belief because we believe that this lecture is only here. That's why we are here today. Belief, from right view of course, we said that a culture of belief is a way of life. Okay, belief comprises the views and opinions that influence our behavior. In belief leads us to what? Action. If we believe in something, for example, if we believe in something, we act based on that. Why culture represents, people's way of life. A culture of belief is a way of life which predisposes individuals and communities to accept the direct existence and truth of phenomena without question. pervading culture of belief is a widespread way of life in which individuals and communities easily accept reality, existence or truth of man without question. One example of pervading culture of belief is the dogmatic assumption that some people have magical and spiritual powers which they use to make or mar others what? Fortunes. Which they use to make or mar others their fortunes and so on and so forth. Examples of pervading culture of belief. Let's look at a few examples. Between 2006 and 2008, as we earlier talked about, and 2009, not 2008, this is not correct. Okay, a notorious, self-acclaimed witch hunter and who claimed to be former secretary of Oto, which is Rimbaland, which is Ahmad Zaochi, nicknamed Oto, emerged and eventually had a court fellowship in Rimbaland and beyond. Oto captivated many people with his witch hunting antics. He claimed to have been a member of a court of witches and wizards who possessed magical powers and were responsible for numerous atrocities and misfortunes in England. According to Otto, in 2005-2006, his conscience started pricking him, or God got better of him, leading him to repent, renounce his contumacy, and become a born-again Christian. Become a Christian. I don't know whether it's born again. Become a Christian. Become a Christian. It's not born again. He then vowed to fight against the witches and wizards and expose their wrongdoings. Otto employed the methods in his witch hunting antics, including recruiting agents and informants to blackmail and intimidate his alleged targets. With his superstitious and gullible populace, his victims faced blackmail, torture, and various trials by deal. They were subjected to whipping, starvation, and demonization. Over 3 years, Otto left behind a trail of destruction and suffering among the people, causing devastation of lives and property. Many individuals, families, and communities were displaced and traumatized, leading to hostility and mistrust. Ngozi is still struggling to recover from the impact of Otto's actions. The fact that such human rights violations and violations were tolerated in a modern Nigerian state with dedicated elites can be attributed to one factor: pervading culture of belief. Sometime in 2009, the second case, I lost my immediate elder brother, my childhood, of course, which I earlier talked about, whom I've formally called to make bicycle accident with no visible injuries and so on and so forth. He was diagnosed of having died of brain injury as a result of hitting his head on the road. While I accepted the accident and the resultant injury to the brain at the cause of his death, my people, many people of family matter, believe that his death was the handwork of some spiritual and evil forces. Of course, that's what they came to, they were telling us, they were saying spreading. That was one of the theories they came up with. The two phenomenon, the standardization or demonstration of my brother's death from a very bicycle accident and similar occurrences do not just happen. They are brought about by certain pre-existing conditions. The belief in spiritual causes for everyday events is widespread. The belief in supernatural causes for everyday events is what? Widespread. It is a symptom of widespread malady, pervading culture of belief. Of course, features and causes of pervading culture of belief. Pervading culture of belief have a number of features and causes. Before pervading culture of belief can fester in the society, before it can reign supreme in society, there are some features we find in that society. One is anachronism, passivity, and regression. Of course, the populace is passive. They are not inquisitive. They are not critical. They are not skeptical to knowledge. Everything people say they believe. They are very credulous. The populace is anachronistic, always making reference to obsolete and archaic ideas and so on. So of course, there is regression. Instead of looking forward, they are backward looking. Okay, they are backward looking and so on. So of course, this hinders the well-being of the people. Again, of course, pervading culture also reigns in authoritarian societies, where the opinion of select group of people whether they're individuals or rulers or elders or priests. The opinion is assumed to be in the best interest of people and thus considered authoritative. Of course, without this, people are not allowed to question the opinion. Of course, questioning the opinion is regarded as what a taboo, something that should not be done, that should not, be had, or something that should not take place. Of course, it's considered to be what? Subversive, and considered to be subversive. Then there's also dogmatism. In societies where particular culture of belief reigns, people are dogmatic. They tenaciously hold on to beliefs, even false beliefs. Beliefs are held to be tenacious. The beliefs are held tenaciously. They are taken to be sacred, infallible, and beyond correction. The attitude of insiderance is dogmatic, prejudicial, and helpless. Supernaturalism. Of course, in societies where political culture of belief reigns supreme, everything is attributed to spirits and supernatural forces. No ordinary deaths can happen, no ordinary accidents can happen. Everything must be caused by ancestral cause, ancestors, old men and women in villages, and so on and so forth. Right? Through spiritual and evil manipulations. People believe that these forces can control or even alter human destiny, and that certain individuals have the power to influence these forces through rituals and prayers. The influence of the causes of origin culture of belief, the influence of tradition. Of course, our society is seen a traditional society, moving from a primitive to modern society, trying to modernize. But there are still fundamentally elements of tradition. Influence of tradition is so vast. This means that native customs, traditions, and beliefs continue to be prevalent and dominant. They were the same customs that a few handful of white people came here and dislodged. But today we are going back to them as if they are so so good. If they are so good, why did a few handful of white people came from Europe and dislodged our thought system, our knowledge system, and everything? The culture of belief is an inherent aspect of traditional society where people are used to living according to customs and tradition passed on by their ancestors. Of course, in traditional society, knowledge is equated with age, and age is equated with experience. Right? Knowledge is equated with experience, and experience is equated with age. In other words, the older you are, the more experience you have. The more experience you have, the more knowledgeable you are. That's the belief in traditional society. Near sense of rational and critical culture, of course. In such society where with so much dogmatism, there's absence of rational and critical culture. People hardly question beliefs. There's lack of appreciation for the importance of rational and critical thought, let alone the development of rules and norms of thought for evaluating beliefs. People hardly appreciate the importance of rational and critical thought, let alone norms for evaluating beliefs. And there is often disdain for critical and conceptual disciplines such as philosophy, which are connected to the development of a culture of inquiry. Supernaturalism and misconceived religiosity. The tendency to attribute events to spiritual and spiritual practices is widespread and overwhelming. We talked about that. Religious leaders institutions capitalize on this to promote the culture of belief in the name of religion. They provide religious or spiritual interpretations, explanations, and purported solutions to every occurrence in life. Bifurcation of relationship between knowledge and belief. Of course, people often mistake knowledge for belief, thinking that when they have a belief that they have knowledge, but that's not true. We have learned today that belief is different from what is a state. One of the conditions that you must not be certified. Okay, before knowledge can be what? Before you can have knowledge, before knowledge can be acquired. So belief is something because a belief can be true or false. False belief cannot lead to what? Knowledge. So there's a difference between belief and what? Knowledge. For you to have knowledge, you must have a belief, and the belief must be what? True. Because if you act based on false belief, your conducts, your actions will be what? Will not be correct. Will be misleading. Conduct and action will be what? Misleading. But if you act based on true belief, your conduct and actions, will be knowledgeable, will help society to grow, and so on and so forth. Knowledge is based on truth. The centralization of truth to knowledge is a key factor distinguishing knowledge from belief. While a belief can be true or knowledge is always what? True. I think we talked about that. So because we do not recognize the difference between knowledge and belief, this result gives rise to widespread culture of belief. Bad and inept governance. Of course, African governments in Africa are notorious for poor leadership, mismanagement of resources of the people. This has led to widespread poverty, ignorance, and disease, because our resources are not effectively and efficiently managed. They are not well utilized. There is widespread what? Poverty. There is disease. There is ignorance. And these things continue to, exacerbate. In fact, there is a vicious circle of these maladies. They continue. They also, of course, with ignorance, with a disease, ignorance, and poverty-seeking populace. What do you get? You get pervading culture of what? Belief. That's what happens in such a society, and that's is vicious. Okay, it's vicious. Then there's also what I refer to as elite hypocrisy. Elite hypocrisy. Because our elites, most of us here, we live dual and conflicting lifestyles. Why, you ask? We do so because in our offices and vocations, the engineer, the lawyer, the doctor, the professor, we follow critical, systematic, we are critical with systematic, analytical in all that we do. But when we step out of office, we now become, we now start living a life where, of pervading culture of belief. So, because the people ordinarily want to look onto us as elites, as role models, they now accept, they now believe that this way we live is also the way we practice in our vocations. By so they will mislead them into having this culture of belief. Because if we maintain the way we practice, what we practice in our vocations, if we use those, if we behave that way in society, if we follow that line in society, more pervading, we have no pervading culture. Accuse some indigenous of Ahimawel, of course, people of Ahimawel are here. In the Google ancient kingdom, this time will not tell you about the state of witchcraft. And being responsible for all atrocities and misfortunes, bedeviling and undermining the development of the village and the progress of its indigenous and inhabitants. Dispelled by this grievous accusation, the use of the village summon the accused persons, interrogated them, and they all denied being witches. To ascertain the veracity of both the accusation and the subsequent denial, the people of Ahimawel, with the help of Nzeaforole, a retired superintendent of police and mobile commander, then invited and brought to publicly identify the accused persons and convict them of witchcraft. Lo and behold, Otto neither identified any of the accused persons nor convicted them of witchcraft. He was exposed as an impostor, a conman and a swindler. It was then that it dawned on the people that the tool was not omniscient. He was not unknowing, because then people believed that he was unknowing. He could stay anywhere and identify witches from all nooks and crannies of Umberland. Neither did he possess the magical powers attributed to him. Thus, although self-acclaimed witches, although self-acclaimed witch-hunting prowess failed to meet up with condition for its acceptance, continuous corroboration confirmation and validation by experience. Of course, you can prove what you are saying. You couldn't prove it. You couldn't identify any of the people he was said to have accused of being a witch. He did not withstand what Popper referred to as detailed and severe tests, and so failed to prove his method. In other words, he failed the requirement of testability, validation by experience, because of course he was brought and asked to do it, he couldn't prove it. And relevance, test of validity. We'll look at that test of validity later. So it was invalid and misleading, and was therefore repudiated and rejected by the people of America and Ivory. Conversely, on the other hand, in some other villages, including my own village, Matter, the antics of Otto were not detected and rejected. The antics of Otto were not detected and rejected. So he held sway and caused havoc, resulting in social schism, mutual suspicion and distrust, and loss of lives and property. In the above case, the falsity of Otto's claims was revealed by tests of validity and correspondence with experience. If Otto was truly a witch hunter, yes, his witch hunting prowess and power would have proved his method by being confirmed by rule of correspondence as lying in one below. Of course, a rule of correspondence says that P implies Q, therefore P therefore what? Q. In other words, that P is a sufficient condition for Q. A sufficient condition is that condition which, if it obtains, if it is present, an event what? Obtains. Whereas Q is a necessary condition for P. And that's a necessary condition for the occurrence of an event. In that condition which, in its absence, an event does not what? Take place or occur. So, for example, if P implies Q, maybe let's use reduce this to you know the way level we understand it. Let's say that let's use P to be life. Let's use Q to be oxygen. P implies Q means that once there is life, there is what? Oxygen. Then you now say that there is life. It means follow that there is what? Oxygen. So wherever there is presence of life, there is what? Oxygen. That's what it means. That's what we are saying. If you apply it to that of the case of a witch hunter identifies witches. Otu is a witch hunter, therefore Otu identifies what? Witches. But in that way, was he able to identify witches? No. Then can you say that's a witch hunter? No. Good. Of course, that's we should also use rule of correspondence to disprove it. Alright, as we have just said now, P implies Q, not Q, therefore not P. We have said that the necessary condition for the occurrence of an event is that condition which, if it does not obtain, if it is not present, an event does not what? Occur. So in this case now, if there is no oxygen, can there be life? If there is life, there is what? Oxygen. There is no oxygen, therefore there is no what? Life. That's what it means. In this case, I say, Ito is a witch hunter exposes witches. Utu did not expose witches. Therefore, Utu is not what? A witch hunter. That's a common proof. The practical student scenario also had, the practical student scenario also has a similar case. It's fair to meet the condition for acceptance, conjecture, and so on and so forth. It's not, of course. Alright, that's the same. So the same circumstance. If you apply it to the practical student scenario, as well as the belief in the second world burial, because after the death of my elder brother, some people attributed it to say that it was because he did not perform the second period of our late father. But then, lo and behold, he did. Alright, he did. He did, you know, in conjunction with my other siblings. Okay, Lechid is here, Roman Chilago, and my elder sister. They combined to give my father a second what? Burial. Of course, I refused to participate in that. I said no. I don't believe in it. Yes, good. But lo and behold, instead of my late father's spirit to come and attack me, to come and kill me, that refused to contribute a dime in his second burial, They said that he went and killed my elder brother that participated and spent his money. So that shows you that belief in second burial is what founded on a wrong epistemological what foundation. It's based on the wrong epistemological foundation. False. Let's go to contribution to knowledge. Since I joined Arizona University on 16th of January 1996, I have contributed to knowledge in several ways. In terms of my core duties and responsibilities as an academic. My contributions in teaching and research have helped in training and producing graduates who serve society with excellent and cutting-edge knowledge and skills they acquired at Arizona University. I have taught for about 27 years at Arizona University and with her permission served other universities at different times. My services and efforts have helped out in particular and other universities in producing high-quality manpower at the undergraduate and postgraduate levels. My academic journey from the lowest cadre as graduate assistant to the highest cadre professor was made possible by all of these, including community services. Of course, I've made some of my works include I helped in developing the curriculum as mentioned by the university rector, the entrepreneurship theory studies in the university, which to train students on vocational skills and entrepreneurship is funded. That program is funded on philosophy of one student, two skills, entrepreneurial and vocational skills. In an appraisal of the dialectical foundation of Nigeria's democracy, appraisal of Nigeria's democracy appreciate the fact that ideology plays a pivotal role and a pivotal and crucial role in governance in particular and the operation of society generally. This role is indispensable given the fact that it contains a roadmap for societal organization and development. It espouses a vision which outlines how a society ought to be organized, as well as the means of realizing it for its survival and well-being of its members. Entrepreneurial theory and practice is a hands-on text on entrepreneurial skills. It explains and analyzes the concept of entrepreneurship and the various ways of harnessing and optimizing entrepreneurial skills. It also outlines and explains how to draw and implement business plans, utilize business opportunities, set up profitable businesses, access funds and finance businesses, market products and create demand for products. In philosophy and logic is an introductory text designed to equip its readers with basic knowledge and understanding of philosophy. It is a critical analytic and pragmatic approach, given that the best route to understanding philosophy is by being philosophical. Argument for youth entrepreneurship makes a case for youth entrepreneurship. It sees it as a realistic mechanism for manpower development and economic growth. It argues that youths are the most innovative, active, resourceful, and dynamic populace in society. In representation not representation, argument for a revived view of the role of literature in a democracy. There, I appraised and rejected the orthodox view of the legislation and the primary legislation and the primary rule of legislation in the democracy. Rather argued that representation, not legislation, is the primary rule of legislation in what? Democracy. Because members of whether national or state assembly or even local government, councils, we are choosing by the people to represent them. Of course, that democracy is a participatory and accountable system of government. In a democracy, the only system of government that gives to everybody the right to participate in the government and hold the government accountable. But due to the fact that modern societies are large and heterogeneous, it's not possible for each of us to participate in what? Governance. And because it's not possible, that is not possible for us, all of us to participate in governance, Democrats, we came up with the idea of participation through what? Representation. So that's why we, elect some people to represent us, okay, at the various levels, especially at the National Assembly or State Assembly. Of course, we call them legislators. They now think that their primary role is legislation. No, their primary role is not legislation. Their primary role is representation, and because it is representation, that's why they are given enormous powers. In fact, the so-called legislation, okay, that arm of government is the most powerful arm of government in a democracy. But because they don't know it, every day they go hand in hand to the executive. Why? You can ask, why is it the most powerful arm of government in a democracy? They are the most powerful arm of government in a democracy because they are given enormous roles and functions. Because they are representatives of what? The people. They are the people themselves. That's why they are given the power of appropriation, the power to allocate resources to various arms of government and various segments of the society. That's what it is. That's why sometimes when people talk about budget padding by the legislature, of course, the legislature cannot pass budget as long as they do it on the floor of National Assembly, okay? Because what the executive does and what the executive is power to do is to recommend appropriation. Listen to the legislature. It is the legislature that has the right to look at it and come up with an appropriation bill and allocate resources. It's their job, not the job of the executive, because they are actually the representatives of all the people. Because they make it based on the needs of their people. It's their job, not that of the what? Executive. Then they also giving such powers as the power to make laws. They also giving the power even removing members of the other arms of government. No member of the other arm of government can remove the legislation. Of course, they can impeach the members of the executive. They can also remove members of the judiciary. But they themselves cannot be removed by the other arms of what? Government. They can only be removed by the people themselves through a difficult process of what? Recall. So the legislature is the most powerful, and of course they also have supervisory roles. It is because they are the representatives of the role that are given the power to supervise, to have supervisory role, to supervise functions over all the other arms of what? Government, to see whether the laws they have made, they are complying with them, to see whether they, to find out if the resources they've allocated to them are being what? Utilized. But because they don't know their jobs, they think their job is just to make laws. That's why we don't yet have effective, a very functional and result-oriented democracy. Nigeria's claim to democracy, a critical assessment, posits that democracy is arguably the best and most popular system of governance in modern times. Hence, that is why claims to democracy have become general phenomenon across the world. Even the most autocratic system claims to be democratic. Democratic Republic of Korea, Democratic Republic of China, and so on and so forth. But if you go to this place, you see that they are most undemocratic states in the world. It argues that democracy is a participatory and accountable system of governance predicated on values of freedom and what? Equality. Logic, and deductive argument are appraisal of legalism and approach to problems. Yeah, I argued that contrary to Zunzi's as well, Zunzi made some claims in one of books one of his books in law. That I told him that there is no difference in kind between legal reasoning and ordinary reasoning, because he said that there was a difference in kind between legal reasoning and ordinary reasoning. So that's not correct. Both of them are subject to the same rules of what? Logic. Of course, they argue that Odunson's logic, arguments as logic, is settled with bifurcations. category mistakes, and what? Fallacies. An appraiser of the legal foundation of Nigerian democracy examines the legal foundation of Nigerian democracy with a view that standing is adequate or otherwise. It identifies the 1999 Constitution as the supreme law guiding Nigerian democracy and therefore the legal foundation of Nigerian democracy. Of course, it also points out some legal flaws, some things that are making the legal foundation of Nigerian democracy not to be effective. Legal reasoning approach to problems. Appraiser, of course, this is another work by Ngozi too. It focuses on certain errors, erroneous claims by Ngozi about truth and quality and their role in national inquiry. It argues contrary to Ngozi's claim that the requirements of validity is indispensable to every field of rational inquiry, as it is of most importance in distinguishing correct from incorrect reasoning, as we are trying to do here today. The role of arguments in rational inquiry examines the meaning and types of arguments as well as their roles in rational inquiry. It identifies and illustrates the inductive and deductive arguments, clarifying their relationship between them as well as their roles in the quest for knowledge. Human values and the quest for sensory ideology in Africa. Draws attention to the correlation between human values and sustainable ideology. The aim here is to highlight the indispensability and centrality of human values to any meaningful search for an enduring ideology in Africa. Sustainability of democracy in the Nigerian environment examines the meaning, principles and values of democracy as well as the conditions for its sustainability in Nigeria. It argues that Nigeria has had a checkered history of democracy since she gained her independence, political independence in 1960. Logic in national inquiry is a practical solution to the rule of logic in rational inquiry. It posits that logic is not only a normative theory which establishes criteria for separating good from bad reasoning, but also uses the established criteria to distinguish good reasoning from bad reasoning. These are some of my works. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, having gone through this length, what are my recommendations? Having identified pervading culture of belief as the leading idol of our age, as the leading factor that makes us not to identify knowledge, that misleads us into thinking that false claims to knowledge, falsehoods, deceptions constitute knowledge, appearances constitute knowledge. I said here, one recommendation is that giving the role of philosophy and the panacea to the idols of our age, there is the need for adoption and incorporation of the critical disposition, or the culture of inquiry, characteristic of all philosophical inquiry and its norms of thought. The culture of inquiry enhances and reinforces conditions for the emergence and development of appropriate knowledge for grappling with the problems of life and existence. There should be nationwide basic training. For this, there should be nationwide basic training in epistemology with emphasis on the sources of knowledge and theories of truth, including tests for validity of knowledge, critical rationalism. In order to grapple with elite ineptitude and shallow intellectualism, there is need for basic training in critical rationalism, critical thinking, and norms of thought. Such training will make for extension of professional training and practice to real life situations. This will enhance the practice in the larger society of what professionals do in their vocational practices. Philosophers should engage in conceptual clarification of the concerned philosophical theories, so as to clear the ambiguities and vagueness surrounding their interpretation and misapplication. There's in addition to misuse of philosophical theories and principles. There is an urgent need to review the idea of second burial as currently practiced in Igbo land. It promotes superstition, ostentation, and wastefulness. There are better ways of paying tribute and of remembering our late parents than through glutinous consumption and lavish entertainments. Finally, and very importantly, The government and private states should set up a truth, reconciliation, restorative, and enlightenment commission. Shall the following tasks: 1. Enlighten the people on the importance and significance of the culture of inquiry as against pervading culture of belief. This will help to make the all important distinction between knowledge and false claims to knowledge, such as superstition. We also charged with the task of identifying, reconciling, and resetting and reintegrating the victims of the auto witch hunting in progress. One potential outcome of setting up this commission is that Abia State will become the trailblazer in implementing society-wide enlightenment of our citizens in basic epistemology, with emphasis on the sources of knowledge, theories of truth, including tests for validity of what? Knowledge. Mr. Vice Chancellor, having made these correlations, let me now conclude. You see, all along, if you go through my work, you see it's an emphasis of my past researches and so on and so forth. So that the emphasis has been on logic, social and political philosophy, and so on and so forth, and philosophic thoughts, right? But with this lecture, I'm now venturing into another field of study. Of course, being a professor doesn't mean that's the end of the task. It now gives you opportunity to delve into different areas of study. So my focus henceforth will now move into what? Epistemology, because of its importance to the society. In this lecture, you have started and demonstrated why the philosophical method of inquiry is the panacea to the leading idea of our age, pervading culture of belief. Everything and society today. Philosophy provides conceptual and theoretical frameworks for perceiving, interpreting, clarifying, understanding, and transforming reality in its varying, interactive, and interlocking facets. This theoretical conceptual role of philosophy is not only critical, but also open, conjectural, and transformative. Though philosophy as a rational analytic discourse is a universal instrument, its application is contextual. Okay, philosophy as a rational and normative discourse is a universal what? Instrument. Of course, the laws of thought, the rules of inference, the norms we are talking about today, critical rationality, these are universal instruments which we should which we should apply in our what? Environment. We use them to analyze our environment and provide solutions to the problems that affect us in our environment, as we have done today. Of course, as we have used them now to look at the autoimmune problem, the bicycle accidents in the second barrier, and so on and so forth. Philosophizing is contextual too, and therefore dependent on one's environment and individual philosopher's environment and the problems therein. Every society has different problems, and it is task of philosophy to help in solving them. Philosophy, as an organic and social discourse, tries to grapple with the problem with the problems of life and existence. Hence, hence you philosophize when you reflect upon your world. You philosophize when you reflect upon your world. When you reflect upon life and existence. When you reflect upon the ups and downs of life and existence. When you reflect upon what you actually do in response to them. Ours is a traditional environment struggling to grapple with and overcome the challenges of development and modernization. One of the greatest challenges to development in our environment is pervading culture of belief. It is the idol of our age. Mr. Vice Chancellor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for patiently joining me in this adventurous voyage into the skeptical, critical, normative, and exciting world of philosophy. The way we consult lawyers, just as we conduct doctors when we have health challenges, The way we consult lawyers in legal matters, just as we consult doctors when we have health challenges, in the same way we should consult philosophers when it comes to the problems of life. Anyone who goes through life without the structure of philosophy will always fall victim to the idols of his age, pervading cultural belief. At this juncture, I thank you all for listening. Mr. Vice Chancellor,
yes,
I most humbly and respectfully present to you my academic driver's license.
Thank you so much. Greatest Nigerian students, greatest Abians, greatest Nigerians. Ladies and gentlemen, you have seen it, and I'm also seeing it, that Professor Samuel Ngozi has performed critically. He has excelled. He has passed the test of truth. The test of knowledge. We're no longer in the realm of belief. Thank you. That is why he's a philosopher. And I can attest that this driving license is of international standard. By the powers conferred on me as the Vice Chancellor of Abia State University, I admit you to the club of distinguished professors. Congratulations. Patiently, I have vision, I know I can count on me to stand up. Well, this is the moment of truth. On behalf of the governing authorities of Abia State University, I present to you today, the 24th day of May 2023. Professor Samuel Ngozi, Professor of Philosophy, the 67th inaugural lecturer on the topic Philosophical Inquiry into the Idol of our Age. Congratulations.
Shall we please make it better for the inaugural lecturer? You can make it better for him, please. Shall we please have members of the immediate family joining the group photograph? After them, we'll have grace to grace smart ladies. Night of our token, straight from our heart. Congratulations. Thank you.
O.M. Obulu, a professor of finance in his own right and welfare-minded vice chancellor. But let me stand on the elaborately established protocol. You will agree with me that the making of a professor is not an easy job. Moreover, a professor who has started to dance the dance of initiated, just as our colleague has danced today. I therefore join the Vice Chancellor in welcoming him into the College of the Distinguished Professors. Professor S.N. Ado, you are therefore welcome. Seeing the array of groups today tells you that our dear Professor Ado has done his duties. He has taught in the classroom, he has done his research, and has comfortably executed his duties as a community man. The people here today, the groups here today, testify to that. Ado, again, thank you for doing so. Today, he has told us one thing. A very important message he has given to all of us. The message is critical and innovative search for the truth. And that truth shall make us free. So he has told us today. My dear professor, thank you for that. The Vice Chancellor or Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, the chairman of the day, without you, it would be very difficult. Thank you for your duties. And we equally thank the traditional rulers who have been able to stay with us all through today, the clergy that has made today a very worthwhile one for us, our colleagues in Senate, distinguished professors that are here. When next we invite you, please come. It is a duty that the community, the university community has, that every month we have somebody delivering the inaugural lecture, and that's the dance of the initiated. Thank you for coming, and God bless you. My job is done.